Army veteran Robert Patton has taken an idea that he had on the battlefield for a new kind of men's underwear to reality. Up next on Veteran on the Move.
Welcome to Veteran on the Move. If you're a veteran in transition, an entrepreneur wannabe, or someone still stuck in that JOB trying to escape, this podcast is dedicated to your success. And now, your host, Joe Crane.
The top 7 paths to freedom is my free gift to you for listening to the show, featuring 7 great ways for a veteran to take their first step into the exciting world of entrepreneurship. To receive your free gift, go to veteranonthemove.com, or if you're listening on a mobile device, you can text the word veteran to 38470. Robert Patton sits as the chairman of the board and CEO of Sheath Underwear. Since 2013, when they launched their first Kickstarter and made $30,000, they have been doubling their annual revenue as well as their inventory assets, but this hasn't been without struggle and overcoming obstacles. There have been manufacturing errors of an entire production order that had to be overcome. There have been friends and family that have had to be let go or reduced in their role in the company. He has survived the passing of his late wife and is now a single father of a 16-year-old daughter, and still the company is thriving at a respectable rate, on track to triple last year's earnings without taking on outside investors. He wants to share his story and challenges so that others will know that they too can make something of themselves if they are so inclined, or become a member of a team that has a shared vision of success for all involved. All right, Robert Patton with Sheath LLC. Thanks for being here today. Welcome to Veteran on the Move. Before we get to talk about business and entrepreneurship, take us back and tell us what you did in the Army.
Thank you so much, Joe, for having me on the show. I joined the Army in 2006 during the middle of the war. I was previously a payroll specialist for a couple of corporate organizations, but I had run out of my college funds to continue my education. I was in debt and they were offering bonuses. And so the universe was basically telling me to try something different. So I joined the Army in 2006, like I said, and I had a very good career. In basic training, I was the top of my class, and in AIT, I was also at the top of my class. In basic training, I had the highest PT score, and in AIT, I had the highest academic score. And then when I got to my unit, in about the summer of 2006, we were in Iraq within 6 months of arriving to my unit. So when I joined the Army, I was in Iraq within a year of joining, and it was an amazing experience. I was a 92 Mike, which was a mortuary affairs specialist, which was a very honorable job. We took care of the fallen soldiers with, duty, honor, dignity, honor, and respect, and made sure they got back home to their loved ones. And that was my job in the Army. It wasn't the most glamorous job, but it was a necessary job. And I really focused on furthering my education and accumulating Army credits to get rank. And I was fast tracking. I made corporal within a year and a half, and then sergeant within 2 years. And by the time we went on our second tour, I had become a sergeant, and I was the NCOIC of my squad, who I led to Iraq on a 6-month tour, and brought them all home successfully. It was a successful tour. So I'm really proud of my service. Have a lot of great friends, lifetime friends.
So what was your transition? What was your transition like out of the Army, Robert?
It was kind of long. I had decided once I had come up with an idea for this company that I am currently operating while I was on my second tour, but I was still in the Army, so there was going to be a couple of years transition. And during that transition, I went through a divorce and lost the house and got separated from my daughter. And So it was difficult, but what I did was just focus on bettering myself because that's all I could really do at the time. So I went back to school. I was using the GI Bill to supplement my income. And all the while I'm trying to start this business, not knowing how to do that. You know, I had come up with an idea for a men's underwear brand, and it had a different design that made it special, but I had never done anything like that. So I was kind of learning along the way and going to school while I'm building the business, and it took a few years.
So you weren't really trying to look for a job or anything as you got out of the Army. You were balancing the school and the GI Bill.
Yeah.
And the issues at home and with your daughter, but you had this idea while you came up with this idea while you were still in the Army, and you were going down the road of making it work and bringing it to market.
Yeah,
and so that was all part of your transition out. So let's back up a little bit. Tell us what Sheath is and where did you come up with the idea? Because this is great. I love this.
Thank you. Sheath, we call it the one-word definition of the functionality of our product, which is a men's brand of underwear, which has an isolation pouch on the internal part of the groin area of the underwear, where you can place your package into the pouch and it isolates it from your inner thighs, which can be uncomfortable in very hot and climates and over long durations of time. And that's where I found myself in Iraq in the summer of 2008, where I was deployed, and I was just wearing my military issued gear and just some regular whitey tighty underwears. They were very uncomfortable. It was very hot, and it was just one of those aha moments on a mission we were going on that I was like, really uncomfortable. And I was like, what if there was something in the underwear that could isolate the package by itself, so it's not all over the place. And so I had that idea in Iraq in 2008, and it was because just one of those necessity is the mother of invention type things. And the name Sheath came probably in like 2010, because it took a while. Like I said, I was still in the Army. I didn't get out of the Army until 2012. So if that gives you an indication, there was a long duration between having the thought and getting out and being able to implement it. But I actually started before I got out. I mean, I was still in, and we started everything in 2010, but we call that like the 0.0, because we were on like a 4.0 version of our underwear, but we were on like the 0.0 version back in 2010, because it was a very rough draft of the underwear, I would like to call it. But the concept was there, but it was just not at its best yet. And I listen to a lot of success podcasts, and I read a lot of success books. And some people would say, if you wait till your product is perfect to take it to the market, you waited too long. And that makes me feel better, because I did not wait till it was perfect to put it on the market. We put it out immediately and then started getting feedback. And we've just been adjusting ever since. We released the second version in 2013 through a Kickstarter, which was very helpful. The universe is funny in how it will help you get what you want done if you kind of listen to the opportunities available and that, are presented to you. Because before Kickstarter, I might not have been able to get this thing off the ground, but we were able to, via proof of concept, get funded in 2013. But oddly enough, we were successful. And when we went to reorder our second batch that we had sold out of, the manufacturer messed up the job. It was not to our quality standards. They were really bad, actually. Like, the pouch was basically upside down, I tell people. So they were so messed up, we couldn't sell them. And so that brought an obstacle to, in front of our company. It's like, so what do you do now? Because we had spent all our money to produce this second production, and it was all messed up. So what we ended up doing was doing another Kickstarter in 2014. And in between those two, we had come across a very good manufacturer. We're still with this manufacturer today because they only make men's underwear. They specialize in men's underwear. And they had reached out to us, seeing if they could send us some samples. And what I sent them to reproduce, they in turn made it like what I say 10 times better. Because when they sent me back the prototype and I put them on, I felt so reassured that my vision was on its way because they were so comfortable. They're really comfortable. And, even though we had that obstacle with the previous manufacturer, I knew like it would be okay. We would be able to bounce back from that. And we did a second Kickstarter. We doubled our revenue from the funding itself, but also for the year overall, we had done 30,000 that first year in 2013, but then we did 60,000 in 2014. And we've been keeping that pace ever since, where we double revenue annually. We did $250,000 last year. We've already done $250,000 in the first half of this year. So we're on track to for sure double again, if not triple our revenue. So things are going really well. And it's just a matter of sticking to it and not giving up and quitting when obstacles present themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Robert, hold that thought just for a second. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Have you joined the Veteran on the Move Facebook group? I personally invite every guest that I have on the podcast to join the group. So the Veteran on the Move Facebook group is a great way to connect with previous podcast guests. Our Facebook group will keep you in touch with other veterans that are transitioning to entrepreneurship, and you will also get great updates and free guides on the people, programs, and resources that will help you in your transition to entrepreneurship. All right, back with Robert Patton from Sheath, LLC. So, Robert, before the break, you were talking about sticking to it and not giving up. I want to go back a little bit because, you're past it all right now, but a lot of folks go through exactly what you're going through. Some worse, some not as bad, but you're going through some tumultuous times and hurting financially. But you had this idea that you'd already had it for a couple of years at this point, and you didn't give up on it. I mean, at some point, would the thought ever cross your mind, like, you know what, I just need to shelf this for a while and just go get a job because I'm scraping by, I'm struggling. I mean, what was it that kept you pushing through all that with your idea?
Honestly, I had read a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and he said that you have to dedicate 20 years of your life to something without pay in order for it to be successful. And that's an over dramatic statement. Like maybe it doesn't take 20 years, but I had basically committed myself to putting in 20 years to this vision. And if it failed, then it failed. But I just believed in it so much. But it's funny because before I even started, I wasn't that interested. I was kind of just going to stay in the Army, and because I was doing well, you can retire in 20 years. But it was my brother who had kind of prodded me into getting the company going and, just starting it. So we ended up, once I started it, it was at that point, that I made the decision to never give up. I even got this big tattoo on my back. It's the brand Sheath. And Are
you serious? Dude, talk about going all in. You put Sheath on your back as a tattoo?
Yeah, because that was just
dedication.
Another way to prevent myself from giving up. Because again, in these success books, you hear how people give up at the first sign of defeat. And that's the biggest reason why people fail, is just because they quit. If you just don't quit, you set yourself apart from like 90% of the competition who will quit at some point along the way, because it's so difficult. It's so time consuming and so it's challenging every day. Every day, if it's not one thing, it's another. And even if you're doing great, you want to be doing better. It's like it's a new bar is set. We made 250 last year. Okay, we're going to do 500 this year. And if we don't do that, I'm stressing out. And I have people that rely on me now for a job. Basically, we employ as contractors over 9 people in two different countries, or 3 different countries. We have a distributor in the UK, a distributor in Canada, and then my team here in San Antonio consists of 6 people, 3 social media and 3 packers, a QC guy, and they kind of intermingle their roles. Some people do different things, but with them, and like, you can't quit on something. You just can't quit. And I had to get a second job in the process of going, like, while we're building the company. I guess I didn't have to, but I didn't want to take away from money out of the company. So I got a job delivering Chinese food in the summer of like 2014, just because I didn't want to take away from the company. I ended up quitting after like 3 or 4 months because the manager was like, "This is your job. You either need to do this job or you need to not be here." And I was like, well, it's definitely not more important than the company. So, but you do what you have to do along the way, to keep things running. Like I said earlier, I was doing the GI Bill just to supplement income. I moved in with a group of 5 guys to reduce expenses, and we all lived in a big house. And I don't live there anymore. I've since moved out, and my daughter stays with me now. But all the guys still live in the house. Everything's still running out of this big 5-bedroom house where we have 2 living rooms full of inventory, and they all work out of the house basically. And we're still doing it that way because we're trying to just keep expenses down. But at some point, we're not going to be able to run it out of there. We'll have to get a warehouse, but we're just trying to.
Yeah. So Robert, my 24 years in the Marine Corps, there's several products heavily used by military folks, like A&D ointment as a remedy to what your sheath underwear prevents. Metamucil, wet wipes, Gold Bond medicated powder, similar issues with the sheath. There's all sorts of stuff that mostly are associated mostly with military folks, because your typical civilian may not use it that much or doesn't have that need. Mm-hmm. Is your sheath underwear? Do you have any way of knowing? Is it mostly military guys that are buying it from you? Like, do you heavily market towards military, or is it got a lot of civilians buying them too?
I mean, I would say it's mostly civilians, but a lot of military. We don't market directly to any particular group. We use mixed martial arts athletes and Olympic athletes as our endorsers, or our public figure people. What are they called? Influencers. But I didn't want to use my military service back in the day as an excuse or a reason for people to buy the product. I didn't want that to be the product angle. I wanted the product to speak for itself. But as time has gone on, like, I don't mind mentioning my military service, and because people want to hear a story. They want to know how it got developed and who the founder is, and like what's the story behind that. So I've added it into our about page, a minor blurb. I didn't want to exploit my military service. I think that's the best way to put it. I just wanted the product to speak for itself. But
in business, you need to try. I mean, that's honorable of you, but when it comes to business, you need to exploit everything you can. I mean, if it's got any little bit of advantage to it, as long as you do it in a professional, classy way. I've run into a lot of veterans that have the same philosophy that you do, and I try to tell them, I'm like, dude, that you got to get rid of that. Be an honorable veteran doing an honorable business. Don't go in there asking for pity and favors because you're military, but be proud of it and say that, because I'm a veteran, this is even better. You're not looking for handouts because you're a veteran. I think some guys get wrapped around that stigma, and that's where they kind of come up with that philosophy. So, by all means, embrace it from the beginning, but don't underestimate the civilian credibility you need too.
I know we're running short on time, but I wanted to point out, I didn't want to use it at the beginning, and I'm glad that I didn't at the beginning because the product wasn't even good enough. It's only recently gotten to the point and quality where I'm super proud of it. I would be happy to, I'm happy to go on podcasts and talk about it. I do my own vlogs on Facebook and YouTube and Periscope weekly to promote it because I'm so proud of it now. Whereas before it just wasn't ready. And I knew the concept was viable. And there are other companies out there doing very similar products now, which also, confirms the proof of concept that it's a needed item.
Copying is the sincerest form of flattery, right?
Right. And it just shows that there's a need for it. So, or a use at any rate, because some people were like, oh, great, some new person invented a new problem that they could solve. And I was like, this isn't a new problem. This has been going on since, the dawn of time. And even back in the Renaissance, they used to have these garments that are called cod pieces or whatever. And it isolated the male package. It's there. So you have to deal with it. And rather than just smush it all in one tight spot, against yourself, we offer a viable solution that is comfortable and functional. So that's why I never quit. Back to that question, why would you never quit? I really believed in it, 100%, no question, without a doubt. So I was like, as long as I don't quit, we will be successful. And that keeps me going when we have bad days or bad weeks in sales. Just stick to the plan. Some people have already said, they're lifelong customers, a bunch of people. If you look at the reviews, it's very humbling, but you still doubt yourself every day. So you still have to deal with that internal struggle and just keep telling yourself, the positive reinforcement messages, because the mind can trick you into not believing in yourself. And
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So just, if your intuition tells you that you should be doing something, maybe you give it a shot. And if your public and those around you are encouraging you, which it was my case, it was okay, well, everyone's telling me to do this. The universe, God is telling me to move forward with this. I'm going to put everything I can into it and not look back. So, and that's what I'm doing now. And it's going really well. So I'm not going to quit ever. I'm not selling.
Rock on. Hey, Robert, can you talk a little bit about, you fashioned a product in your mind and you had it manufactured and you actually put it to market. Talk a little bit about what it's like. What kind of lessons learned do you have from bringing a product to market from scratch?
You have to be patient. You have to be able to deal with a lot of stress and uncertainty. When we put it out on Kickstarter, that month of waiting to see if it was going to be funded was agonizing. And I still deal with that on a daily basis. Just, is today going to, we're doing over $1,000, sometimes $2,000 a day in sales, but every day I wake up, are we going to make, this money to keep everything going? And that's just part of the struggle. You're always going to have that. But if you can just be patient and let the process take its course. It's like a tree. You plant the seed, but it might take 20 years for the seed to grow into a tree that's bearing fruit. So you have to be patient and just stick to the plan. Make a daily task list, 5 things, do them, and do that every day, and you should be able to keep up with what you have going on. It's real simple. It's just like you got to stick to the plan, and like not quit. Every day is a new day to make sure it's moving in the right direction. You can't I don't ever take days off ever. And it's been 7 years or whatever.
Wow. Are you to the point now? I mean, you say you're doing $2,000 a day now. Are you to the point where you might be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, or you start to feel like maybe you're going downhill a little bit now? Downhill, as in I'm not going uphill anymore. Now I'm starting to cruise.
Every now and then I feel a little bit comfortable, and then sales will drop, and I'm just like, okay, what happened? We got to go and figure out analytically what promotions stopped running, or what is going on. Is it just the nature of the economy and, spending patterns? You just, I don't know.
You're almost 100% online, right?
Yes, we have. We're in a couple of gyms and in a couple of stores. But not. We're in one in Indiana called the Men's Tool Shop. They sell underwear, and we're in another one in North Carolina. They haven't opened yet, but they're doing their grand opening this month, and it's called the Blake Ryan Experience. And it's like a new thing inside malls where it's an interactive store where they'll have actors wearing the products, so that when you come in, it's just not on a shelf. It's people using the products. It's a new concept for a store in a mall. So we're going to be one of their featured products. So that's pretty cool, but mostly online, and Amazon, which is online.
Oh, so how do we find Sheath? If someone's listening, they want to check out the product first, how do we find that?
I would go to sheathunderwear.com. I mean, you can just Google Sheath Underwear, but I would just go directly to sheathunderwear.com. We're also on Amazon. We're available on Amazon Prime for some of our products, which I like. I love Amazon Prime, one click buying stuff. But those two places are the easiest ways to find us. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, at Sheath Underwear on all of those platforms.
Okay, so if you're talking to that guy that's still in and he's getting ready to get out, and he's like you, he's got a product idea in mind, but he's not really sure what the first step is or how long this process is going to be or if it's going to be successful, but it's just burning a hole in him. This idea isn't going away. He feels the need to pursue it. What kind of advice do you have to him?
I mean, you start and you adjust along the way. If people are telling you that it's a good idea and it's not your mom and dad or brothers or whatever, that's a good indication. Outside influences telling you, feedback will help, but ultimately you start and then you adjust along the way. So you'll learn, and if it doesn't work out, then at least you tried. But you have to give it you can't just give it 6 months. So if you're going to go in, I think you can be successful selling anything. I think you can start a new tire company or a new construction company or a new underwear company or whatever. It's just a matter of sticking to it, not giving up, and, believing in it. You have to believe in it. So if you really believe in it, I think other people will also believe in it.
All right, Robert. Thanks for sharing your story with us. It's great you've made it through the hardest part. You're actually, you got sales going. It's working. Now you're just keeping it afloat and trying to expand and grow. So it's a good place to be. So at this point, and we are about at the end of our time. I want to ask this. I would say, you're still working every day. You're not taking a vacation. But you're making sales every day. At this point, I would say, hey, you've become an entrepreneur. What does that feel like? And could you ever see yourself going back and working for somebody else?
Every now and then I put myself in a position okay, would it be so bad to go get another job and work for someone else? Mm-hmm. I mean, it would actually be a lot easier. Yeah. To be honest, it would be so easy and less stressful Could I see that happening? No, because I'm not going to sell the companies. Like, some people are actually asking me, you know, like, well, how much would you sell it for? And I say, like, you know, it would be well over 10 million. You know, it would be some number that nobody would be willing to pay. So I'm not going to sell it. And because then I would either have to go get another job or start a new company. And I already have a company that I love, and it's growing, and we get a lot of positive feedback. It makes me feel good. It's like my baby, and I get respect from my peers as a result of it. And people look up to me. I inspire people, and I want to do that. If anything, I would like to add that to my just personal branding or something. I would like to be able to speak to people about, you know, what I've done and how I got here, and just inspire them on the side, you know. But I probably should get better at delivering my message. But I want to do more podcasts, and I'm getting out there. I really appreciate you letting me come on here. We had to start over, so that was a little bit frustrating. But
but nobody knows that. Nobody knows that ever happened. Well, I guess they do now.
Well, it's good. Don't cut that out. But because we started off like on fire, and then it was a little bit hard getting back online. But I think we got the point across, and you know, I'm not going to get another job, and if you're willing to do that, then maybe entrepreneurship's not for you, because it's not for everybody. I don't think, because it's hard. It is so hard, and I know people that work for me that I just don't see it in them. You know, they want to sell. Like some of my people, they're like, they want me to sell it when it gets to a certain number. And I'm just like, no, I want to do this for the rest of my life, because what else am I going to do? I'm not going to sit on a beach for the rest of my life and drink Mai Tais, because it would get boring. I need to be moving. I need to be making progress. I'm all about making progress.
You know, there is some validation. Some people, they're all about the hunt, all about the kill, meaning they love building the business. And then once it gets to a certain level, now they've become a manager. They're managing the day-to-day operations, and it's not about bringing it to market from scratch. So some people are real good about that first phase. And when they get to a certain point, they kind of want to sell it with the intent of going back and starting over with something else. And that's perfectly healthy, great way to do things. But if you're still, you know, true and loyal and loving the ride, you know, take it all the way to the end. Like there's some, you know, they say that a company going from beginning all the way through to a public company, sometimes it takes at least 4 different versions of a CEO to take it all the way from scratch to public. You know, you could talk about the Zuckerbergs or the Bill Gates or the Steve Jobs, that kind of thing. Those are some of the few that actually take it from beginning all the way to public. And there's lots of folks that have taken more than one company from scratch up to, you know, different stages of the funding level, and then boom, they're out. And then they go back and start over again. So if you're one of those kinds, that's great. I do agree with you. If you think that, oh, I'm going to cash in for $5 million and boom, I'm sitting drinking Mai Tais on the beach for the rest of my life, you might want to rethink that, because it will get boring after a while. It will get boring golfing every day. And if you're somebody that loves the hunt, and you take that away, that's when problems can start happening. So,
I would probably die or something if I sold it. I would probably just drink myself into oblivion. I don't know, because
that's a very valid point. Aaron Walker is a guy that I know, and a lot of folks I work with know. He's basically a coach now. He sold. He graduated high school early, and so he could start working, and he eventually sold a bunch of his pawn shops that he had built up, you know, for several $1 million. And next thing you know, he's sitting around the house. He didn't even drink. He's sitting around the house. He gains 50 pounds. His wife's like, you need something to do. And so he had to jump back in and start doing other things again. So he experienced that firsthand. So well, hey, Robert, we're pretty much out of time. So hey, if there's a veteran out there that wants to get a hold of you, like, is there like a contact sheet on sheathunderwear.com, or is there a way somebody might be able to get a hold of you if they got some questions or looking for advice?
Absolutely. There's a contact us page on our website. There's a phone number on that page. You can call or text, and you will literally get me. People don't know that. If you email our customer service, it does go to our customer service department, but you could also, request that it be forwarded to me. But I handle the calls because we literally get like 4 calls a week from people that have had some sort of an issue. Most people handle it through, email and whatever. But yeah, call me. I will be happy to talk to you.
All right. That's awesome. All right, Robert. Well, thanks for sharing your story. We look forward to your future success.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I wish you all the success in the world.
Absolutely. You bet. All right. These 2 veterans are Oscar Mike. Hey, one last thing before I go. Robert wanted to pass along a special deal for Veteran on the Move listeners. If you want to try out some of this Sheath underwear, go to sheathunderwear.com, pick the ones you want, and on checkout, enter the code VETERAN, and he'll give you a 35% discount off your purchase. As you can tell from listening to the Veteran on the Move podcast, interviews are a great way to tell your story and spread the word about your business. If you would like to get booked as a podcast guest, I recommend Interview Valet. You can check out Interview Valet at veteranonthemove.com/valet. Be sure to check out Thrive15.com, the world's premier online education platform that helps entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and intrapreneurs learn how to start or grow a successful business. Start your free 30-day membership by going to Thrive15.com and use the promo code VETERAN. Thank you for listening to Veteran on the Move, your pathfinder to freedom. If you like the show, leave us a review on iTunes. Reviews are always greatly appreciated. So until next time, this veteran is Oscar Mike.